your views on inner game? Or?
Inner game, yeah. Well, I know like a lot of people, they kind of emphasize so much on this inner game stuff, but I think like some of it is definitely relevant and useful to guys, but I think a large amount of it is just complete bollocks, and the more you consume yourself on all this inner game quasi-spiritual shit, it detracts you from the actual real thing that's going to make a difference, which is the taking action. Because you know, all this theory and talking about it and all this internal stuff, there's a limit to how much it's going to help you. But at the end of the day, it's just about moving your fucking legs, moving your fucking mouth, and speaking to that fucking person. The more you consume yourself with all this internal shit, you're gonna become so fixated on that to the point where it's detracting you from the actual stuff that you actually need to do, which is actually far more simple than all this inner game stuff makes out it to be. And then there's also the fact that, like, you can also, it's almost kind of like therapy in a sense that, you know, like, you've got maybe some kind of internal trauma, and then you're kind of using this inner game stuff to kind of to almost like validate yourself, when actually it's not really serving your purpose. It's kind of like preaching about stuff you already know, but because it's so almost addictive, you just keep going with it, you keep consuming it. It's almost like it's so addictive, it's not actually, it's getting to that tipping point where it's no longer really that useful to you anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Can I add to that, like, basically what another thing you need to look at is you want to take more outer game than inner game, because yeah, like a lot of it should be outer game, so just take action and the inner game will just come through that. Because what I noticed is I had some friends, and I used to do that myself, where it's like, oh, you need to get in state, you need to get in state. Like, if you're not in state, you should not approach that girl, or like, if you're not in state, you shouldn't be doing that.
Exactly.
So what you want to do is really get out of that mindset, which is girls like need you to like be in like the highest state to approach. I think it's bollocks. I mean, yeah, like the mindset is like just build a muscle, which is like just in the gym, like you're building a muscles, and then it just becomes easier. And you can do it any state. It should be done any state you're in.
Yeah, you don't want to rely on state, and yeah, I think inner game, or whatever you want to call it, like, is important, like, to an extent. Like, you want to have good mindsets. Affirmations help. You know, doing affirmations and stuff, meditation is good, but you definitely don't want to rely on it, because your inner game will get better through outer game action. So you change your inner game by taking action. You can't change it by sitting in a room just humming and hawing.
Yeah, and I think like there's what you said before, like there's a direct correlation, I think, between inner and outer game. So like you focus more on the outer game, and that's all. There's a direct connection where your inner game is going to inevitably improve by focusing more on that outer game. So in other words, actually taking action, actually going out there, and speaking, even if the technical stuff isn't really perfect, it's gonna have a direct correlation to actually improving your inner state. That's what that's what people talk about with states. Like, oh, how do I get into a good state? Oh, well, fucking just go up to people and speak to them, even if it's just a compliment, even if it's just asking for directions. Something basic. Yeah. That is how you get into good state. Not reading textbooks, listening to YouTube shit and audio podcasts, all this crap. That's not gonna.
So, as a percentage, how much do you think should be action? How much theory?
90% action.
Yeah, 90%. Yeah, 10% theory then.
Yeah. The thing is with action, obviously, you need to know what you're doing in terms of
mistakes. You don't want to.
Yeah, mistakes, sticking points, some technical stuff, flirting stuff, that kind of thing, body language, non-verbal stuff. There's all this stuff that you kind of need to know about. But once you get past these technical things, it's like there is no solution for approach anxiety, which is the number one thing which prevents beginners from doing this or getting good at this. Is let's face it, it's approach anxiety. And there's no cure for approach anxiety. It never truly goes away. You just have to go out there and do some.
You just have to manage it, right?
Approaches. Yeah, and it's about managing it. It never truly goes away. It just becomes less severe over time the more you get used to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, the AA can go from, say, like when you're a beginner, like say it's an 8 or a 9 out of 10, but the more you do it and you incorporate it in your daily life, it can actually go way down. So you can
get it to like a 2.
Yeah, you can easily manage it. But what I've noticed is a lot of these guys that are really like become the person they want to become. Like when it comes to, you know, the guy with abundance in dating. They don't talk mind wank, and they're not into all this spiritual stuff. Like they just take massive action, and they've actually become that person. So, so that's the thing. Like I see a lot of these guys behind the screen. I used to be that as well myself, where you watch so much spiritual stuff and like state, and then you how can you get good by watching spiritual stuff and like meeting people? Like it's just the wrong thing. You gotta put attention on meeting girls. That's how you get better. So yeah, spiritual stuff can help. Just use it very little though. Don't rely on it.
Yeah, I think it's about controlling how much of that you consume, and just kind of realize where your priorities are. Realize how much time you're investing in certain areas. Managing that properly. That's the main thing. I'm not like anti all this spiritual stuff and inner game stuff. I think some of it is definitely relevant and useful. It's just that an over consumption of it is just really detrimental. That's my main view, really.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to become a theory junkie because you only know something when you implement it. So just doing spiritual stuff is not going to help you get more confident in general. It might help a little bit, but you actually need to take action. Because a lot of the guys, as Dan said, who just do this stuff, they overcompensate and they don't actually get the results they want. And they also, I saw a guy the other day using all this spiritual stuff on a girl, but he was actually doing it just to get laid. So he was trying to impress her, like, oh, I'm really...
Like a routine.
Yeah, like, I'm really spiritual and I'm just at one with love, and like, he's just doing it to get laid, clearly. So. Yeah.
I mean, it's not to say that theory is not useful. I mean, the right kind of theory, because also there's a lot of theory out there that doesn't serve you. So you have to filter. You obviously have to filter it, because a lot of these guys talk shit and they haven't taken action. So
yeah, I think like the main thing that makes like if you look at a guy who's actually really good at this and like is like really advanced when it comes to this kind of thing. They're not talking about game, they're not talking about like pickup PUA and all this shit. They're not talking about day game. They're just living life as normal. Because the more you get fixated on all this stuff, the more it kind of, like I said before, it can be counterproductive to actually, you know, being that high value guy that actually girls are attracted to and actually gets, you know, you actually get good results. So that's what I'm talking about, you know, like the guys that actually get really good at this, they've almost kind of disregarded a lot of like these game elements.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, I guess there's different types of development, like in this like pickup like development, you know, like initially you might become like kind of the pickup guy just to get better, but obviously as you become a more well-rounded like masculine man, then obviously, you know, you have to kind of get away with it, and it just comes three-dimensional, you know. It's just you become natural, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't want to be too gamey.
Otherwise, it's too.
You just want to incorporate it into your everyday life, and you are that guy. You're not. It's not something you're doing. It's who you are. So you are. Yeah, you are the guy. So yeah, I'm just
the guy that approaches girls on public. If I see it,
if I like it, I just do it. So yeah, just try to avoid mind wank too much, guys, and. Theory helps a little bit, but you don't want to rely on it, because a lot of these guys are overcompensating for something. What do you think then?
Yeah. I mean, what I was saying about theory, right, is, for example, I've seen guys that they do call, I mean, this is to say theory is good as well. I'm not saying totally disregarding it, because sometimes you could cold approach a girl, right? You get her number, and then you're like, oh fuck, what do I do now? And you just get all these numbers, and then you don't take it further than that. So maybe like learning how, you know, about how to like have sex or like things like that could help, because you might be like thinking, oh, how do I, how do I take her to the bedroom? I don't know what to do, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, theory can help in that sense. Learn the kind of the practical stuff that you can implement. But yeah, that's apart from that, I would say just take massive action. 90% should be action, really.
Yeah, that's where you get the most results. Because a lot of guys were like, oh yeah, I've got a few numbers, but I get loads of flakes, or like I'm not been getting that many dates, or like I've been looking at my results for the past like 3 months and I've only been on 1 date. Well, it's like okay, maybe there are some technical things you could be improving and various things that you're doing in your interactions that could be better, but really a lot of it comes down to just not taking enough action, not doing enough approaches. That's like the biggest cause for a lot of guys. Just unless you're doing like 20-30 approaches a week, you can't be expecting that many dates in a place like London.
No, you definitely can't. And also there's the 3 A's called your action, approach, and attitude. So most guys, it could be one of those 3. Like either your attitude is wrong, that's like your mindset. So yeah, that's the kind of inner game stuff. So your approach could be wrong, your technical side of it, you're doing something wrong. You don't want to just keep banging your head against the wall. So that's like obviously where a coach comes in, like Ed. And then the third one is probably the main one, is you just don't take enough action. So that's the biggest one. Have you heard of those 3 A's before?
Not specifically like that, no, but yeah, it makes sense what you're saying,
Yeah. So yeah, if you're not doing like 20 to 30 a week in somewhere like London, you're not going to be, you can't really expect much results. What do you think?
No, I think that's right, exactly right. But I think like when you go abroad, like in a place like this, for example, like as I said, like in previous thing, like you can do like 5 approaches a day, or like at a more advanced level, you can do like 5 approaches, maybe get a day out of that. But that's only this place really, and because it's just such a good place to be right now. The girls are friendly, receptive, and actually genuinely want to meet foreign guys. That's not going to be the same in like London, for example, where you do have to grind it out a lot more. You do have to take more action to compensate for the fact that the culture isn't as open.
I mean, we're really like reaping the benefits here by being like in Playa in Mexico, because obviously there's a lot of advantages to London, to be honest. Like girls are here like literally they come sometimes just to get laid. Cause,
you mean Playa, not London?
Yeah, in Playa, because it's a very like sort of like festive. There's nightclubs. They're out to find guys, seeing some of these girls. So but yeah, basically you want to have that abundance where you can choose which place to go, because I mean London is good, but obviously if you have that choice of like just going somewhere where you're have more abundance, that's way better. So working on yourself to get your business is also important, to get your finances up so you can travel is really important. It's really important, I think.
Cheers for watching. If you'd be interested in one-to-one coaching with me, where we'll go out in public and work on your approach at girls, or more generally with your social confidence, please visit my website ed-game.com.